All right, good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. Game week finally here, and that's what it's all about. 7:30 NBC, number 7 ranked team in the country. Great venue, and so be 106,000 plus there. So looking forward to it. We'll start with Penn State, and then kind of get to our guys. A ton of respect for Coach Franklin. You know what he did at Vanderbilt, and then now carrying on to Penn State. Offensively, who they are, they're multiple. I think they've done a really good job of being able to run the football versus about anybody they've played, and they've Coach Yurcich, the OC, they're familiar with him from being at Oklahoma State, and really came up through the profession throwing the football, so he knows how to do both. Really, strength of their group is at the offensive line. You know, a lot of experience returning. You know, 2 tackles that will be for sure draft picks. One of them maybe the first tackle taken, and then their running back room special. You know, there's been a lot of ink put out on that, and that's true. You know, they're fast, they're big, they're strong, they have experience. I think the other guy that doesn't get mentioned enough is their center. He's played a lot of football. He kind of makes the whole thing go. Tight ends, they've got 3 that they'll play. They're big and they're long. They're all 3 guys are multiple. Quarterbacks, you know, not sure who we'll see. Perbula, we know him from recruiting him really hard. He's athletic, extremely talented. And then Alar, he played well last year. You know, he played, almost 150 snaps last year, so he's played and had to play in their opener last year in a tough situation, and he proved himself last year. Receivers, they lost a lot, but they're really talented. You know, they've got a number of guys they can play, and they've got good speed that they've added through the portal. And so it's kind of them on offense. Defensively, I think Manny's one of the top defense coordinators in the country. You know, his track record speaks for himself. You know, they'll probably be the most talented group we play. You know, and I may be conservative in this, but they got 9 draft picks probably in their 2 deep on defense. You know, and that's not me up here just talking. I mean, that's legit. And so they're talented everywhere. They played extremely well down the stretch last year. They're an attacking group, play a lot of man coverage, mix a little bit with some zone pressures. I think it starts up front. At end, they've got 3 guys that are big time. 2, I think, guys that are potential first round picks. 1 for sure. The interior is really good. They're quick. They move. They do a good job with their games up front. At safety, they've got 4 guys that'll play. 2 guys that started there last year, a bunch of games, are back. At corner, they've got the King kid who's in all the early mock draft stuff is a first-round pick, and the other kids played a lot, and I think they feel really good about him too. And so very, very talented group. And in special teams, they're always solid. They're replacing all their specialists from a year ago. They have a tradition of being really good in their punt return game, and so not sure who that will be, but they've always been good there. And then Singleton's their kickoff returner. I mean, he took one to the house last year, and he's a threat anytime he touches it. And so for us, it's about getting ready to go play in a tough venue against a great opponent week 1. And so our guys are excited about it. We'll be ready. We started our prep last week, kind of in the middle of the week, where we went and got really focused on those guys, and we continue to sharpen the game plan today, and we'll continue to do so moving forward. So with that, take questions.
So your team, give me an area or 2 you have to win.
Yeah, I think if you go back and look at it, I think I don't know if I can give you. I'll talk in specifics on each side. I think offensively, is the strength of our football teams on the offensive line. We've got to win some one-on-one battles up front versus, again, probably the most talented group we'll play up front all year as a whole. We're going to play some other guys that are just as talented. And we played, I think, 4 first-round draft picks last year that are on the defensive line, in our schedule we played last year. And so it's not going to be the first time our guys have gone against that kind of talent. And they think they're that kind of talent too, quite honestly. So we've got to win some one-on-ones up front, and we've got to be able to break tackles. It's a group that can really run, and they get to it. So we've got to be able to break some tackles. Defensively, we've got to win some coverage matchups. They're as talented as they are at running back. We've got to be able to cover them, and we can't give up shots down the field. And then we've got to be able to tackle in one-on-one. We've got to run to the football, but we've got to be able to tackle their running backs in one-on-one opportunities.
Start. How do you prepare for a guy that you just aren't going to have a lot of tape on?
Well, you go back and watch a bunch of high school, and then he played. Like I said, he played a lot of fourth quarters last year. And when he played, they let him play. It wasn't like he was just handing off. And so you've got some video. He's super talented. You know, he's a big kid. He's more athletic than people give him credit for. He can run. He's good at scrambling and making plays downfield. You saw that last year. You saw that in high school. He's got a huge arm. He can make all of the throws. Whoever starts is going to be making their first start ever. And there's some pressure that goes along with that. So we've got to make it tough on him. We got to disguise some things. We got to give him some different looks. But he's really talented.
When you're playing, you got to ask, have you decided to publicly announce your quarterback?
No, we're going to grow. We went this far. We might as well just let it roll. What are you going to say, John?
I was just say, when you play a team this good, is there an optimal time to play them?
I don't know. You know, it's hey, here's the thing. Like, I'm done talking about the schedule because everybody says I'm complaining, but I'm just stating the facts. So I don't know if it's a good time. This is the best team they've had in a long time. Most talented team they've had in a long time. I don't know when the last time they were this highly ranked. I don't necessarily follow them. So you'd have to ask somebody else. But I know as a team, this is a tough opener, not just because of the talent, but because you got to go on the road and you got to play. And the thing that people don't think about is you got to speed up. Everything's sped up in fall camp. And what I mean by that is you got to start working noise and crowds and things like that, you know, going into week 3 of fall camp, because you can't just do it game week. You know, it's not fair to your guys. And so all of your preparation is sped up because you got to go on the road and play in a really loud venue. As far as, hey, it is what it is. We're going to line up and play them. It's their first game. It's our first game. You know, I told our guys we don't have the benefit of the doubt of making this big jump between week 1 and week 2. You know, like, we got to be ready to go. And that's kind of the way we've gone about our fall camp is we pressed on the gas. We tried to be super physical. In our last scrimmage, we tried to treat it just like a game from a physicality and number of plays perspective. And so, because we don't have the benefit of the doubt, we're not easing into this, and we got to be ready to go from the first kick at 7:37. Yep.
Is the advantage maybe the fact that obviously you don't have film on them as a team because they're different than last year, but they don't have film on you either, and you're different than last year?
Yeah, I think there's some – I could look at it and say there's some real positives for us. There's some real positives for them too, because they're playing at home and some of those things. But, yeah, I think there's some unknowns. Anytime you go into a first game, there's some unknowns. Like, I can watch all they do on offense, and I've got a pretty good feel for what they've done traditionally offensively, both Coach Franklin as a head coach and Coach Urshitz as an offensive coordinator. But I guarantee you they watch film. You know, they watch film all summer, and they're going to be a little bit different. You know, Manny is always kind of tinkering, and he's got a lot of toys. You know, that's what I'm saying. He's got a lot of things to play. He's got a lot of tools to use, and I guarantee you we're going to see Carter come off the edge and those 3 talented defensive ends on some kind of speed rush package, because when you have that kind of personnel, like, he's going to tinker. So we're going to see some things we haven't seen before for sure. But there's also going to be some first game mistakes on both sides, you know, and we need to take advantage of those.
You've been in situations where you've been a big underdog against the top 10 team. Mm-hmm. How do upsets happen? What do you stress to try and?
You got to eliminate the errors on your part first. And so, well, I think let's go back here, Bob. So I think it really starts with belief, and you got to have belief in not only yourself but the people around you and the plan that you're taking into the contest. So there has to be strong belief, and it has to be organizational wide. So you have to have that. Second thing is you got to eliminate errors. You can't do things that get you beat. And those are, whether it's turnovers, procedure penalties, those type of things. Okay, missed assignments would go in that boat. And then you've got to make plays. There's going to be some 50-50 balls. There's going to be maybe a return or maybe a play on a 3rd or 4th down, and you've got to make your share. You're not going to make all of them. You know, we're not going to go and make all the plays versus Penn State. They're too talented. They're going to make a lot of plays. But we've got to make our fair share, and then your goal is you want to be there. You want to continue to be in there. You want to hang in, and put yourself in a position to win in the 4th quarter. And those opportunities that we've had that have gone the way that we want them to go, that's been the way they've played out.
You counted on a lot of transfers to help you this year. For the most part, you got out and done what you wanted, or they factors right away?
Yeah, so I think all of them, but one or two will probably be a real factor in the game. Several of them will get their first start with us, and so, we need those guys. And mostly all of them are veterans. And so they've played in venues like we're going to go play at, and so they've got to be able to handle those elements. And our assumption for a Devin Carter, for a Beanie Bishop, it's not going to be too big for them. They've played in big moments, and we feel like they'll be able to excel in those type of situations.
How have you introduced this game to your guys? I think a Sportico said that NBC is anticipating maybe it's a huge audience for the game on primetime. You're going to have maybe 108,000 at the game. Have you kind of worked your guys up to this, or how have you prepared this with them?
I think it builds up as the week. I think that you try to apply as much pressure as possible. And to me, this is what it's all about. It's kind of the way I introed this press conference. I always talk about this. When you play on NBC or ABC or CBS, I always think about my grandparents' house in Gravel Switch, Kentucky. You got bunny ears, you get those games, So it's like, if anybody out in the sticks in West Virginia still has bunny ears, like, they can get NBC, and some of you young guys in this room don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. So, but anytime you play on national television, it's an opportunity. And people talk all the time, hey, what a challenge, you're starting with Penn State. Yeah, it's true. But it is what it is, and it's up to us to make the most of it. And so it's a great opportunity. This is why you get in the profession. This is why you want to play big-time football, and it's for opportunities like this.
Neal, obviously, pretty different circumstances, but do you see any similarities to when you went to LSU with Troy?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I've aged double since then. I don't. It's hard to say. We were coming off at that time. We lost to Boise State early in the year, and we had a team that won 10 games the year before, and our guys really had a chip on our shoulder. And so I think each team's different. I think anytime you go, and we've been fortunate enough to do this multiple times, and y'all can kind of look it up. But I think anytime you go and you're a double-digit underdog and you go into a territory or enemy territory against a highly ranked opponent, there's got to be some things that go your way, but you also got to have a good football team. And my belief is we got a good football team. We got to go prove it. So it's hard to stand on a soapbox till you go out and play a game. But I like our group. And we'll be hungry. And it's going to be a group that plays hard and does it the right way. And so kind of looking forward. I tell our guys, I'm looking forward to watching you. We'll coach you up till Friday, and looking forward to watching you on Saturday.
I know you are going to name the quarterback today, but any comments on any of the other open position battles in terms of returner, linebacker?
Nah, because and the reason I'm not getting into it a whole lot, they don't have a depth chart, so I'm like, might as well. Everybody that is going to play. I'll tell you that. Like, everybody that y'all think might play, they're going to play. That's about as good as a good a view as I can.
Do you have because actually we did talk last week, and you actually mentioned that you maybe would have a better answer this week.
Give me a position.
On Gallagher versus Traylon Ray.
Yep. And so Traylon's playing outside, Gallagher's going to play inside. They'll both play in the game. I think it'll go. Traylon's been sick. He was out. He was limited today. He was out at the end of last week because he was sick. So a lot of it will depend on how he practices. Gallagher's going to play for sure on some special teams, and he'll get in the mix offensively as well.
Bruce Feldman does his freak list.
Yeah, they had a bunch on there, didn't they, John?
Normally you have one or two. They got 6.
Yeah.
Is there one maybe that stands out to you among those 6? Can you name the 6?
Well, I mean,
Maybe you're 6.
I know the 6 they are. Yeah, I mean, I think the guys that stick out are when you watch Robinson, 44. Who we saw in high school. I mean, he's special. I mean, he's going to be a first-round pick. He's continued. He's got size. He's got speed. He's got athleticism. And then the Carter, the linebacker, he's wearing the same number as Micah Parsons. He's getting all the comparisons. They're going to use him like Micah. I mean, and he's a freak. He deserves to be high. I don't know where he was on that list, but he deserves to be pretty high on that list.
So you remember him.
Yeah, but he was a little young then. He's a little different. He's grown up in the last 3 years. So, but yeah, they had 6. I'm aware they had the most of anybody.
Yeah. You were going through their offense. Sounded like you've been practicing against it the whole time. Sounded like your
Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, backgrounds are similar. A lot of the pass concepts very similar. They've kind of grown with it too. You know, their O-line on the edges is really good. And they lost some receivers, and they lost a really good tight end from here in West Virginia as well. But they've been able to replace them. You know, I think sometimes people think of inexperience and they think, well, it's going to be a question mark. Well, I look at their wideout room, and they got a lot of talent, so I don't know if I'm over there in their room, I don't think that's probably a question mark to them. And so they've got plenty. As far as plays, though, what they're going to do, you know, without being exact, I think we'll be able to give our defense a pretty good look at the run and the pass concepts they're going to see.
Neal, along those lines, is yours just offense similar to Texas and Oklahoma State that you saw here, or is it more personnel driven there?
Yeah, no, I think it's very similar. You know, when he was at Texas, his year he was at Texas, he a lot of 12 personnel. They had a good group of tight ends there, so he ran and played multiple tight ends. But the concepts, I think he's transitioned. He's doing some different things RPO wise at Penn State than he did there, and I think that some of the run game has shifted a little bit. You know, and James is an offensive coach too, so I guarantee you he has some influence on what they're doing. But they have answers. You know, I always look at people that are good year in and year out, and it's always personnel driven, but they also have answers, and he's got good personnel and he's got answers.
The thing you don't know is coach until you play again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty forthright with that. I think that you can put your guys in as many situations as you possibly can, but until you get a game, you know, especially for a first timer. Now, for the most part, like I got a pretty good feeling how Zach Frazier is going to handle it, or Doug Nestor, or Wyatt Milam, or even though we haven't gone with Devin Carter, you know, he's played a bunch of football. You know, the guys that are returning, but anytime a newcomer, you know, comes and they haven't had to play, you've got a feeling of how they're going to react, but you don't know until you know. You know, so I think there always are some. The scary part as a head coach is there's so many situational aspects to college football, is making sure you got your team prepared. You know, and there's new clock rules, and you just think about, you know, a block kick. What are the rules? Or any, you know, kickoff return. Your ball is, when's it go in the end zone? When does it not go in the end zone? There's just so many little minutia details of getting a team ready. So as a head coach, my biggest is always, okay, I've got these hit lists that I got one for defense, offense, special teams, and I'm like, all right, I'm double checking that thing. You know, if that's kind of what I lose sleep on is, okay, do we cover everything? You know, in a meeting and on the practice field, if we covered everything that could possibly happen.
You mentioned the clock rule, and I saw in the Notre Dame Navy game.
Really
they
quick,
ran
wasn't it?
110 combined plays, which is what you were defending just a year or two ago. Have you talked to your staff about the potential of having maybe a 2 hour and 45-minute game and a reduced number of plays?
Well, I think that was a little. It's Navy, so they weren't throwing the football, right? And those guys, Notre Dame had success running the football early too. I think they scored on like all 5 of their first 5 possessions. So there was a lot of completions in the game and ran it. So I think that was a little bit of a unique. Yeah, I think it was a little bit unique setting. But what I did see is, I think last year there was right around 67 point something, almost 68 plays per game. In week 0 there was 63 and some change. Yeah. So and I think that's kind of what everybody anticipated.
Okay.
And I think there was 3 or 4 minutes came off game time. You know, when you took all the week 0 games together.
I saw Mike Gundy had mentioned, he said teams that can run the ball in the fourth quarter, this is going to really benefit them.
Hey, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And it's going to benefit teams that can control the clock. You know, you're going to be able to eat up some time.
I'm probably not going out of them here, but nothing on as far as who might be injured, not playing, things like that, right?
Yeah, we've got a couple guys that are question marks. As far as significantly not playing, I'm just going through my head. I'm not trying to be hidden here. I don't think we have any starters that are not gonna play. We got a couple backups that are questionable, but I think for the most part, God willing, over the rest of the week that we'll be all our starters will play.
Going like that, some of the things you're going to protect, like starters, position battles, quarterback, all that. Naturally, coaches are guard. First game preseason, and you joked, I think, before that maybe Duquesne, Penn State were in the stands for an open scrimmage, right? I don't know if that's true or not.
No, I don't know
There
either.
certainly is. Paranoia is not the right word, but proactive, I guess, being protective. Like, how real is that for people who maybe don't work under that microscope that you do?
Yeah.
Don't want
Well,
secrets exposed.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Here's what I think is I think it needs to be across the board, and I think what we should do is we should mandate depth charts and mandate and the depth charts can have oars in them or whatever, and we should mandate injury reports for the gambling stuff. I think that, and I would be in favor of that. If they asked me, in my opinion, I'd be all for mandatory depth charts, mandatory injury reports. But until everybody does it, it's not not fair and balanced. And so, but I really think that's the way that it should be done. I think we're moving more and more to a professional model, and the NFL does that. And I think that's the way college sports should be. But until everybody does it, we're putting ourselves at a competitive disadvantage by doing it.
Neal, can you go in on the running backs a little bit, Singleton and Allen?
Yeah, I think they play off each other great. I fully expect to see both of them on the field. The thing that really sticks out to me is with Singleton is you don't see the speed and the strength combination. You see guys that are fast. You see guys that are big and strong, but you don't see the combo. And his lower body is so strong. And when he gets an open field, he has the ability to he can break one tackle and it goes to the house. And that's scary, you know. And Allen is really talented. He's versatile. They use him in a lot of different ways. But they're really good. And they've got, like I said, they've gotten a lot of press and they deserve it, you know, and they deserve it. And it's going to be a challenge for our guys for sure.
Did you answer some of your questions at receiver?
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it.
No, I think so. We've had a physical camp and we've had some guys in and out of the lineup because we've practiced hard. But I think it's a group that's going to be challenged. You know, I don't know if we'll come in here next Monday and I'll have a definitive answer because we're playing against probably as good a group as we're going to play all year. And that there's probably maybe one more first-round draft pick at corner in our league, maybe two. But our guys are going to get challenged, you know, and the guys that we need to make plays, they've been solid during camp. Now they got to go do it in a game situation, you know, and but I'm comfortable. I'm sitting here Monday before our first game, and I'm comfortable where that room's at.
Penn State's corner is going to maybe play similar to the way you faced Oklahoma State. Is that an example or no?
Well, yeah, Oklahoma State pressed a lot. You know, they pressed more last year probably because the weather was so bad. But yeah, I think they're going to mix it up. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna they're not gonna give our quarterbacks constant looks either. But they're not going to be scared to play man coverage. You know, that's what you see all over film. They played man against those dudes that Ohio State has. Well, they got 3 first-round picks, so.
You mentioned wide receiver. How many are you comfortable rotating?
We'll probably play 6 to 8.
Neal, in terms of physicality, you talked about how last season you didn't go into the Pitt game as physical, and now that you're kind of on the back half of the prep, how do you feel going into this game about the physicality and what you guys are bringing to the table?
Yeah, I think it's going to be determined, how we handled it. This is definitely the most physical camp we've had in our 5 years here. We've tackled more. We've done more good-on-good work, and we've worked on tackling in general as much as they let us by the rules. And so we've had a little bit of friendly fire where – there may be some people that are questionable going into the game. Again, more backups than starters. But that's kind of the price you pay. But I knew that this game was going to be extremely physical. When you look at both their line of scrimmages and the talent they have, we had to give our guys a chance. And the only way we give them a chance is to be super physical. And we were physical today. I mean, we were really physical today in practice, and we're going to be physical again tomorrow. And then we'll start backing off of them. But I don't. Will it pay off? We'll know week 1, week 3, 4, as we get into this.
Okay, anything else for Coach?
You think you guys are ready for the atmosphere, and do we make too much of that?
No, it's important. Yeah, it's important, especially in an opener. Greg's asking about the noise, and it's going to be loud, and so we try our best. You know, it's we locked them in the indoor today and shut all the doors, and you know we made it as loud as possible. You know, but is it as loud as it's going to be there? I don't know. I've never been there. You know, I've never played there. I've been to the stadium, but I've never played a game there, and so. But our guys are going to be prepared for that, for it as loud as we possibly can get it here, and that can't be an excuse. You know, it can't be an excuse, and so, but it is a challenge, and it's something that you got to work. It adds to it. Okay, thank you all.